The work of designer and illustrator Paul Farrell is inspired by his love for nature and a passionate interest in the graphic arts. Paul practiced as a graphic designer for over 23 years, before concentrating on a career in art and illustration. His main body of work, the Tree series, is an example of Paul's strong graphic style. He uses silhouettes and striking color combinations to explore natural forms. I caught up with him as he launches an exclusive Tree series for the Old Sweet Shop. Hi Paul.
Hello, hello.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Bristol, yes, Bristol born and bred. I'm very proud of that.
Tell us about your art and design background. Where did you study?
I did my foundation year at Bristol Polytechnic, and that was probably the most enjoyable time I've had in schooling. And then I went to BA Honours degree at Middlesex Poly for 3 years in graphic design. So I have a graphic design background, but yes, that essentially graduated in 1988, and I've been working ever since. Yeah.
What inspires you most?
I thought hard about this, but really it's quite simple. It's anything that has appealing colour and form in the environment around me, be it an orange lifeboat, the plumage of a bird, or essentially a leaf on the floor. Anything that has simple graphic quality, and colour has a lot to do with that. Yeah.
Which artists or designers do you admire or are inspired by?
Well, it's a good question. The recent ones at the moment are, well, I've always been a fan of Gary Hume, who's a very graphic painter, and I just love his forms and his colour, how he breaks things down into portraits, into simple shapes. The other person is got a stage name, a French comic artist and illustrator called Blex Bolex, I think you say, and he's my age and doing very well. Beautiful graphic books, and very collectible at the moment.
What are some of your favourite objects in your studio?
I have two at the moment that are front runners. One is when I was small, I used to collect Britons, who are a toy manufacturer, zoo animals, and they're plastic. And I managed to find on eBay recently a crocodile which has a snapping jaw. That's quite beautiful. So it's memories of childhood and everything else. And the second is a glass Viking from the 1960s, Scandinavian glassware, and by a studio called Puchberg in Sweden. And it's just this big, chubby Viking, and it keeps me company.
When did you first become interested in illustration?
I've always dabbled, and very early on. It's a combination of gifts and toys my parents gave me, but I was always sketching from a very early age, and my parents are quite creative, so that they've always encouraged that.
What was your first design job?
Well, when I left, strictly my first design job actually, when I left college, was with David Davis Associates. I was a graphic designer specialising in brand, and that was way back in 1989, and that lasted for a year. And essentially, every time I've worked for a design company, I've always had my own projects going on. I've always collected colours and shapes and forms, and always been devising my own projects. But only until like 5 or 6 years into my career, I actually managed to start then talking to printers and getting things cheaply printed.
How process-oriented is your work, and how would you describe your creative process?
I guess it's very process-driven, because a lot of the work essentially is it's not hand-drawn, it's actually within the computer. So it's using both Adobe, Photoshop and Illustrator. Originally my photography, so there is a process, there are 4 or 5 stages to each, and then I guess where I loosen up is where I bring into my colour work. And then it's the printing process. Just lately I'm doing hand prints, so silk screen, and I guess that's a whole another process on top. But because my work's quite graphic, there's quite a rigid, tidy method to most of it. So at the end of each project, it's quite nice to sort of have completed it and move on to the next.
Do you have any exciting upcoming projects?
I do, yes. I have one called Animal Alphabet, and it's I mean they've been done before, but it's a series of cards and prints, but more obscure animals such as H for husky, and Y for yellowfin tuna, and they'll be done in very bold 3 colours, and that's something I'm going to excited and something that's going to keep me busy for quite a while, I think.
Sounds like you're very busy. Are you more of a going out or staying in kind of person?
Well, both, I think. But staying in is the new going out, and going out is the new staying in. So I don't know. I think it's both. It really depends on the mood. Being back in Bristol, because I moved there back recently from London, going out is certainly the preference. Yeah.
Do you have a favourite restaurant in Bristol?
I do. It's a small place called Zazu's Kitchen, and it's in Stokes Croft, an up-and-coming area in Bristol, and it's great there because you have daylight streaming in, and it's free Wi-Fi and great, cheap, but very, very innovative food and lunches. It's really good, very relaxing. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.